What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Robinson, and this is another episode of Let's Take a Walk. I hope everybody had a great week. Matter of fact, this is the second episode of Let's Take a Walk today. I am really on a roll, guys. I hope everybody had a great week. I definitely did. I went to sleep on Sunday and I woke up and it was Friday. Can you believe that? Tonight, as usual, we have the most amazingest. I'm gonna make up words. The most amazingest guests that we can provide to you. And tonight is no different. We have Mr. Brandon and Sister Christy Simmons, and we have the Browns, Mr. Pastor Justin, Justin and Miss Angela Brown. Tonight we're just going to talk about marriage and relationship and ministry and kind of how they all kind of coexist in this life, because as we know, life be life.
Yes,
life. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the Simmonses or the Browns, I'm going to give them a moment to kind of reintroduce themselves and just give a little background to who they are and some of the things that they have going on. So with that being said, Brandon and Christy, I guess you guys are first. You guys got the floor.
Well, I guess I'll go first. I'm Brandon Simmons. As Mike said, I'm a lifelong friend of Mike. I work in telecommunications. I'm a president of a labor union, father of 3. Most important thing, I'm her husband and I do what she tells me to do. So.
That's great. Mike introduced me. I am Christy Simmons, and Mike, you were absolutely right. As an English teacher, that is not a real word. And I am married to this wonderful guy here for some years now, and I'm happily married. We are the proud parents of 3 children, and I'm just looking forward to many more years.
Absolutely.
Oh, I thought you were going to say many more children.
No.
No.
Mike, you almost made me cuss, and I don't even cuss.
I did when I said more children. They should have bleeped. I should have bleeped myself out when I said that.
Right.
Exactly.
Well,
all right, Pastor Justin.
We're the Browns. I am Justin Brown, a proud husband of one wife, four beautiful kids. I'm a teacher. I also happen to be a pastor of a wonderful church called Hope City. And I just enjoy life. And listen, I'm glad to be connected to you, Dr. Robinson, through the Simmons family on tonight. They become our family, so we're just excited, honored for the invite.
And hello again, I'm Angela Brown, married to Justin Brown, and we do have 4 beautiful children. We have been married for over 18 years, and coming in January, we'll be celebrating 19 years of marriage, and we are excited to be on the show.
Wow. Again, you guys, I thank you for taking the time to come on the platform. This is a bit of a this is a treat for me. As I explained to you guys offline, this guy Brandon is, he is a lifelong friend. He's been my best friend since I could stand up on 2 feet. So, and it's actually, probably a long time coming, but that's another thing. And I love him and his family. We are, I mean, what can I say? I can't even put it into words. And any friends, any brother or sister of these 2 are a brother and sister of mine.
Ditto, man. Ditto.
Absolutely. So let's get started. Let me first apologize for my spouse. My wife is actually at a parents meeting for a girls organization that my daughter is a member of. So they are doing a strategizing meeting thing.
Okay.
I don't know. So God bless her.
We love you, D.
Oh, hey, D.
She sends her love. But let's start from the beginning, guys. Where did you and Brandon meet, Miss Chrissy? How or when or where did you guys meet?
So there's some discrepancies with this story here. I have my side, he has his side. But it's funny because our families had known each other for years and years and years. Once we got together, we realized that our moms were really good friends. Our parents were on bowling leagues together years ago. My grandmother and his mom's oldest sister, they grew up as best friends. They went to they grew up as best friends in Florida together. They went to like the Bible college together. Yeah, so we found out the history of how connected our families were once we really got together. But where we originally met was, I was like 14, 15. My mom allowed, don't ask me why, but my mom allowed myself and my cousin and my friend and us, we all went to Tallahassee, Florida to go to FAMU's homecoming. And that is where Brandon attended college. I don't know why they allowed us to go on the bus from Rochester, New York to FAMU on the Greyhound bus, but we did it. We survived. Would never do it now, but whatever. We survived. Decided to be grown, go out to the club one night, underage. And who did I bump into at the club? This guy here at the Moon. And this
Moon. Yeah.
I met him at the Moon. Years later, I met him in church again.
I was just going to say, so we're going to clear this up. See, this is the wonderful thing about a marriage podcast, that we can have disagreements in love. But we're going to clear this up immediately. Because the way my wife phrased that was crazy. It met me, who is a guy. You know what she's saying is,
that did sound bad.
It did very. So let me clarify.
It made me laugh.
Exactly. So what she's saying is, at this time, we literally said that's high, it's first time. But what she left out is much later in life, she harassed my brother to get with me.
Wow.
So that's really what I'm here to tell the truth tonight. I'm here to tell the truth.
Wow.
But it's a wonderful thing. 20 years later, 18 years married, 20 years together, we're still here. So, it worked.
That's right.
Amazing.
You're not a bad
All right, Justin. We're gonna move along because they messy.
We love the story.
Yeah.
I love hearing the story every time. Every time.
I was laughing before they started, so I love.
Because you know where it was going.
I love it.
Ours is not as colorful, but go ahead, baby.
Listen, man, I'm sanctified, y'all. I love the Lord. I met my baby in church.
All right.
Really? Now, I ain't gonna lie. I was sitting on the organ one Sunday, Dr. Robinson. I was sitting on the organ, man, and she walked in. Now I looked, I was like, okay. I asked my man, the bass player, I said, man, who is that? And he was like, man, she from up your way. She a student. She from Norfolk State. He said, she from up your way somewhere. So, from that point, y'all, I went into church spit mode. And right after church, so I learned how to do this. I've been in church all my life since I was size a peanut. That's all I know. So I figured out how to do this thing. So after church that day, I talked to her, asked her name, and it's always my go-to. What church you go to? And when she said she went to church she went to, I started putting two and two together. She's from Baltimore, so I knew some Kojic folk from Baltimore. So I just started dropping names. He was like, you know him?
Okay.
You know him? You know him? It was on from there, Doc. She was like butter, right?
Wow.
But seriously, that's how we got. That's really how we got connected. And then from then it was on. It was on, man.
It was late night phone call.
Late night phone call, sitting outside her dorm, Norfolk State. I can't even believe it, Doc. I did some stuff I said I would never do, and find myself
falling asleep on the phone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mute that out the podcast.
Nah, I'm sorry, brother. This is live right here. This is live. Yeah, when you said church speak, I thought you were gonna say like you told her like God told you that she was gonna be a wife.
So
Something like that.
So
Well.
Dr. Robinson, you
I
met a
was
church
ready to
moment
give
ago.
you the gas
So-
face.
So watch this. There was a so watch this. We were in revival,
Yep.
and there was a prophet in town, and he didn't know me, and really didn't know her.
Was he from Florida?
From Alabama. He's from
Alabama,
Alabama,
okay.
and he got up talking about, I smell love in the air.
Oh my God.
I smell love in the air.
And no one in the church knew
And
that
we
we
were
had
like-
started dating. We were talking, but no
And
one
you know
knew.
me, I was skeptic. I'm like, what's this dude doing, man? What's
So
this dude
I was
doing?
getting up to actually go give my offering, and he said, where's your husband? I said,
But we had just started talking
I don't
too.
have a husband. He said, yes, you do. And he's in here right now.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, them church folk do put pressure on you though.
Oh my
Yeah,
Wow.
that's them.
God.
Luckily, I liked it a little bit, and this whole thing worked out. Or he would have been a lying prophet.
Right. Absolutely.
He was not a lying
Absolutely.
prophet.
That's
We were going to invite
But
him
it's
to our
funny.
wedding.
That's seriously how the whole thing worked
Yeah.
out, and we're all from there.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Okay. So we got those formalities out the way. Let's dig a little deeper now.
Okay.
Marriage. If you could encapsulate marriage in one word, what would it be?
Hmm.
Compromise.
I was thinking the same thing.
Oh my gosh.
Compromise.
For
Now.
sure.
like,
What'd you say?
did you have a one word?
No, I'm going to be disobedient immediately on your podcast because I the way I encapsulate it is two words. I think it's a beautiful struggle. That's what
Okay.
Yes.
Can
you elaborate on that beautiful struggle, sir?
Yeah, because I think you're in a partnership with somebody, and because we're going to be real on this podcast about marriage. You're in a partnership and you're struggling, but the fact that you're with the person you're one is beautiful. But at the same time, sometimes you don't want to be with them. As my uncle would say, sometimes you and that person, you and your spouse are setting horses.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you understand the importance of you being together and focus on that, the beauty of that through the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Justin, can you elaborate on the compromise? What?
Oh
marriage?
yeah. Oh my goodness. And first, because you're two people coming from different wavelengths, even if you're the same background in some areas, you're still, when you come together, you're bringing all your stuff with you, good and bad, right?
Mhm.
And then trying to work through that with somebody as you grow together. As you grow together, and as the old school church used to say, you can't be up here shacking. You can't be shacking up together. So in those terms, right? You don't really know what you think you know till you get together, all right, and begin to learn each other's intricacies and what makes people tick, right? What both of each other we give each other grace for, and sometimes when that grace runs out, how do you keep this thing moving? So as Dr. Simmons said, that I love that beautiful struggle part, man, that both sides are kind of trying to work this thing out. Some days we're the best friends. Some days she wants me outside. I want her to sleep out back. And then somehow, some way, somehow we wake up the next morning, kiss each other, good morning, say hello, kiss the babies, and start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a piece. That's a big part of it.
I think marriage is a choice. Having to choose each other every day. You can make a choice to stay, or you can make a choice to go, but it's still a choice. And choosing each other through the good, the bad, the ugly, choosing each other as you're learning yourself. Because even in marriage, we got married early. We are growing up together. We're still growing up together. And who I was at 21, I'm not that woman in my 40s. And so I've grown along the way. And even in my youth and even now in my 40s, I'm still choosing.
Okay. So nowadays, traditionally we have looked at marriage. Well, not us because we were kids, whatever. But from a distance, we looked at marriage in a certain type of way. Like for me personally, my grandparents were my kind of like my model for marriage. My grandfather was very gruff, very like stern, very matter of fact, and while my grandmother was very soft spoken, submissive, literally give you the shirt off her back, that type of thing. But by far, my grandfather was the dominant one.
Mhm.
Nowadays, we hear on other podcasts and we hear in interviews how women are becoming more independent and strong-minded within themselves, and as it pertains to their views towards men. How do you, and this is for the wives, of course, but when you see the atmosphere of how women see relationships, not just marriage, but relationships in general nowadays, how do you look at that? What do you think about when you hear some of the things that these young women and some seasoned women say it as well? But how do you feel when you hear some of the comments that women make nowadays towards relationships?
Angela, would you like to start? I'll piggyback off of what you
Y'all
said.
know how y'all feel. Stop
So-
playing. Y'all know how y'all feel.
And when you say like women today, are you meaning like of the more independent mindset that maybe don't believe that marriage is necessary anymore, or
It's generational women.
I think I'm talking about the women who aren't opposed to relationship, but they view it in a certain type of way as if I don't know, they're as dominant. They are the dominant ones. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you feel? Like, and it even comes through in some of the music, that we even in music culture. How do you see, or what do you think of when you hear, these women say, some of the things that they say? They almost sound like men, almost.
okay. So I think society has played like a great deal on how we view the term as submissive or dominant, or having someone who's strong in a relationship. Well, women, back in the 50s and 60s, or you saw a lot of women staying at home, but now you have families today where both the husband and wife are professional. All of us here on this conversation, my husband and I are both professional, and I do think I'm a strong woman, and I think that if a man is confident in himself, and then it doesn't matter what his wife, and not intimidated by what his wife is doing, or if a woman has an opinion. I think that's okay. I think it's okay for a woman to be a professional, a woman to be a go-getter. Myself, I'm a professional woman. I have, and my husband encouraged me to get where I am, even when I was going through my master's program, or even before I did. Hey, he would tell me, hey, have you looked into this, or what you think about this, or I think it's your time to do this. And so he pushed me and encouraged me to even pursue my own dreams as well. And so I think it just takes in a relationship, when you respect each other and each other's voice, then it's okay to still be strong in your own right.
No, and I agree with you. I definitely believe that women should be independent. I think women have kind of been suppressed for a very long time. But also in that, I do still believe that that men, I personally believe that men should still be the head of the household and also of the relationship, but women should also still have a voice. It should still have, have some independence as well in the relationship, but the man should still maintain the head of the household, the head of the relationship.
I agree with that as well.
And if I could just say, I know this is for the women, but just real quick on that. So both of them said, excellent things. But I would also like to say, I agree with what both of them said. And in somewhere, we have been sold this ideology that a woman being independent and free thinking is somehow synonymous with being completely submissive. You can be independent, free thinking, and still, coexist with your husband in that manner,
Right.
Two are mutually exclusive.
Right. I'm still an independent woman, but I still will make my husband plate. I don't mind making his plate.
Absolutely.
I don't mind, doing those things. And he doesn't mind doing them for me either. So it's a good balance. And I still see him as the head of my house. And even with the kids, I don't know what the daddy say. I don't mind making a decision without him, even though he would be okay with it, but I still respect him in that role.
Okay, that's amazing. That is amazing, guys. Let's go into like how ministry plays a role, because both couples serve in ministry at varying degrees. Pastor Justin in particular, anytime you, and not just in church, but anytime you are the shepherd or the leader of an organization, there are certain things that you are, I don't want to use the word obligated, but you are kind of obligated
Responsible.
to see up close. You see death, you see debt, you see sickness, you see depression, and this goes on and on and on and on. Have you yet mastered the art of not bringing your work home with you? How can someone like you absorb all these types of calamity, and even good things as well? Even the good things as well, they have their certain amount of weight to them too. But have you mastered the art of not bringing your work home with you, so to speak?
So let me go to church quickly on this one. If it hadn't been for the Lord on my side, and I'm dead serious about this. That right, and I can go a long time on this one because I always like to say this first. I believe the generation before us, we did them a disservice by not allowing them balance in their life. And we didn't know, nobody knew any better, so it was nobody's fault. But I think we did them a disservice by not allowing them balance in their life, where we thought all they had to do was church and never rest, never get healthy, past until they 105, never give them a break. And I say I came out of that, but I was determined early on when we started pastoring. I said, we're gonna figure it out. Now, have I figured it out? No. If I would, I'd wrote a book and we wouldn't be on here tonight. Right?
We would come.
But the reality is, right? Everybody's story is unique and how they handle it. And I always say balance, right? And I've been preaching this to our church for a long time, and I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to find that magic balance of church and trying to leave it at church. But it trickles home, partly because of these cell phones and tablets, and we're connected, right? It comes home, and we talk about stuff. We pray all the time. Sometimes we have intense fellowship about our church work. That it comes home with us, and that's what keeps us on our knees. It keeps us praying that God, we find that balance, not just for us, but for our kids. We have a generation, as y'all know. You probably got kids y'all came up with in church who have no desire to be at church or around religion. And it wasn't because of God, it was because of some of the stuff they went through, some of the stuff they saw. And I think there's been some of the factors for me trying to find this balance. I don't want my children saying 20 years from now to their spouse that I hated church. I hated that my parents were so involved in church and they left us out or missed something. So we're trying our very able best. And I'll say this for my father. He tried his best. He grew up in a holiness church. doilies and the stockings, and you didn't do anything on Sundays, right? But he tried his best to make sure if I had events, he made sure I got there, and we still got the church. Like he sacrificed, and I look back now, like, okay, he took some bullets for me, he took some arrows for me, because I know somebody was talking about him, because he's being secular about letting his child do what he needs to do on these, on a holy day. So for me, that it is heavy, right? But that's part of the call, right? It comes with the territory, and everybody has to figure out their own way of how they handle a balancing home life and church life. They're going to intermingle every blue moon, but you got to do your very able best to try and keep them as separate as possible, if you can. So that was a short answer to a deep. That's a very deep, thorough question, sir.
Thank you. All right, Simmons family. You also serve at a high capacity within your ministry, and you kind of were there from the pretty much the inception, correct? Like pretty much from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a certain perspective that you have that the typical lay member does not. So how do you guys navigate from that point to this point? Because you also have gotten to see a lot of things, the death, the sickness, the depression, the mental health issues, you name it. Like, how do you guys see fit to navigate through that and still be able to serve at the level with which you do?
So speaking to the just the overall concept, I think Pastor Brown hit the nail on the head when he speaks about balance. And it's about Mike, me and you came up a specific way,
right?
We had specific, great specific examples in our Baptist church where we were born and raised in. Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, Rochester, New York, 144 Baker Street. So we had a paradigm of what it looked like. I was blessed enough. I am blessed enough to have parents that have been married for 52 years, and in church they served in individual capacities, and just watching that and seeing the number of people that were positive married influence while serving in church, and also being couples. But what I had to realize, and this speaks to his point about balance, is it's okay to see a success for them and glean from that what you need, but also understand that's not your path to success. And I think that's what Pastor Brown was alluding to. So once again, stealing an excellent point by Pastor Brown. It's about balance, and most important, seeing what works for you, your spouse in your particular context.
Okay.
Hey, can I throw something in real quick?
Okay.
And
sure.
I say this about we call Brandon Christie our brother and sister, legitimately, literally.
Absolutely.
We'll fight to the death for the Simmons. Everybody knows it. So, and I'll tell this, and we ain't telling everything, but they are our brother and sister, and for us, because we were so close, right? They were so close. They were in our church business, but we were in our personal business because that's the way we had planned it. And we went through a season where we had to space for a minute. We never lost connection, but as we've revamped what the Brown Simmons relationship is, I've learned this, and they said this very profoundly to us, that they were here for us outside of the church. Yeah. And when they say that, some people say that, but they don't really mean it. They literally have been there outside the church moments where we can fuss, holler, cry, and have a place to lay your head, not be deep and spiritual, but if it needs to be, it can go there. And I believe every pastor, somebody, whoever, bishop, whatever you call yourself, needs a place, right, where you can be real, be yourself, and listen, hear wisdom, right, not be offended, and keep moving. And I'll say this, they were that for us, and I'm just praying that everybody else has a Simmons in their lives that's able to have a deep conversation, but yet not hold it to our not hold us to what we've done or said something crazy. Right.
So, Pastor Brown, let me just say, I appreciate that you did say what you just said, because Mike, when you asked the question, it kind of put me in an awkward position. I felt a little awkward, like, how do you answer that? You know, because I do know, like, our friendship, we were there. We were there from the beginning, and then we were also family as well, and we did take a break. So it was. I think you and Brandon answered the question perfectly. And like you said, Justin, I think our role now, and like I shared with you guys before, is y'all are our family, our friends.
Right.
You know,
right.
We got your back.
Right. And that brought to that.
that.
Yeah. And I want to throw that out there because and again, and let me say this, and I'm not trying to hijack the show, Dr. Robinson, but you open this question because older pastors said that stuff would happen down the road, and when you're young and naive, like everything's gonna be gravy. No, never. It can never happen. And then it happened, and you're like, how do we get here? Right. And again, it goes back to how you manage these different boxes that you have to be and not just pastor. Anytime you serve people in any capacity, right, you're going to have these things. You're dealing with humans and relationships. It's going to happen. But I want to reiterate the family piece, man. You always need somebody who you ain't always got to be in front of the camera, so you say, or have the mic in your hand and just have real moments. So.
And absolutely, and let me just say this very quickly, just kind of tying it back to what we're talking about now, and then the overall concept of marriage.
Right.
My sister Angela alluded to the point earlier about how we're always growing and evolving, and we are different. Literally, I mean, even on a cellular level, we're different now than we were 7 years ago, 10 years ago. So just that concept of understanding. Even sometimes in a marriage, if you're at a different place and than what you were, and especially with friends, family like the Browns are to us, there is no disconnect when there is love there. Maybe you're not doing the same things at the same time, but where there is love, there is no disconnect. That is a bond that ties, and it would always come full circle. So I would that's important to remember when you're married. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the love keeps you from straying too far. So even when there is some moments of discord, you still have that love there that brings you back eventually, even when you don't see your paths completely aligned. It just still comes. It just reconnects every time. And and even with we say we had a break. The love was what still kept us connected. And so,
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Ladies. These guys, not only spiritually, but just socially, they are very magnetic, very charismatic, if you will, in their own way. Do these guys have groupies?
Do they have groupies?
And let me elaborate.
They have a fan base?
I'm totally 100% serious about it. We were speaking about JR a little while ago. I had him on the show, him and Ebony on the show.
Yeah.
And I asked them this very question. You know what I'm saying? And it's the thing. It's the thing. So I'm really seriously. I mean, I'm. It sounds facetious, but I'm really being. I'm really like asking a legitimate question. And if there is, because I had a pastor tell me one time. He said if my wife don't give me none, no other time, I know I'm gonna get some on Sunday morning. On Sunday afternoon.
Wow.
And he said that because
like a real podcast.
Right. Well, and let me explain. Let me explain that because after
it's
he
the sound.
preaches, after he preaches that, that energy.
Yeah.
That energy. So like, if my spouse feels that,
Yeah.
then you know what I mean? Is that something that you have to do? Has that been a part of your story? Is that something has to be dealt with, or that you're aware of?
Well, I do know that my husband doesn't have to go anywhere else to get some. Is that the word you use? Some.
That's right. That's right.
I'm sorry if that was offensive.
No,
We came here to be real.
We call it something else, but you can call it something else.
So to groupies, I mean, over the years, I've had or I've seen admiration of my husband, and sometimes I think he's oblivious to it. So I don't know if he always sees how other women may look at him or how they may cater to him, even sometimes in my face sometimes, but it's not to the point where he's wondering or I'm thinking or have to be questioning if I think that he is entertaining any of the admiration or yes, I don't even know. Yes.
Can I add a little nuance to this question, because I don't want it to be strictly about when I say groupies, I mean people who expect things from him just by virtue of him being the pastor. So like they may come to him privately and say, "Hey, pastor, my light bills due, and I don't."
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Or can you come to my house to do XYZ, whatever. It doesn't have to be anything, inappropriate, but I'm just saying, like, basically from the membership pulling on him. They, you know what I'm saying? Is that something that adds a little nuance to it?
Is that a thing?
Right.
Yes, I will say yes, they do. My husband is one of the most humble people I know, and he doesn't mind being accessible, and if somebody says that they need him, he's going to come, or if there's a need, he wants to find a way to make it happen. He's even helped people put their bunk beds together, or you may see him at a little kid's birthday party, grilling, or just wherever he can do to serve. So he does have a servant's heart. So, and I don't mind that. I don't mind it to an extent. I do find myself sometimes being protective over him, and people who may see that I think they're taking advantage. So sometimes that I am concerned or protective over that part. But yeah.
And I actually want to piggyback, and this is a great question because it almost ties back a little bit also into Pastor Shepherd's heart, just having a big heart. I grew up in a small church, and my great uncle was my bishop, my dad pastor later on, and it's just what we do. It was just, if somebody needed something, you just did it. You didn't really ask. You just kind of like, if it needed to be done, you go do it and keep it moving. Not a whole lot of fanfare. And listen, it's fun. And when Brandon, it's always with me. I used to tell him if there was something I thought it was sketchy, I was like, hey, Simmons, what you think? And sometimes he'd be like, I'll take care of it. All right. And you gotta have those folk around to trust. Because sometimes you do it to kind of your heart, it might come across the wrong way. Right. I think it's innocent, and some older woman's like, he must really like me because he came over. he took my trash.
There was a time that my husband was playing with this woman's baby, and he always would speak to the baby, pick the baby up,
like
and
babies.
she told him that she fell in love with him, and she didn't know blah blah blah, but he just treats my baby so good and blah blah blah. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Right.
So you love him, or you're in love with him now because he was kind to you, you know. So, and he was oblivious to that too. But
So
he
yes, it does happen to your
it
original
does
question.
happen.
It does happen.
Or Christy and I may tell you that
Simmons got some.
sometimes there may be women who speak to our husbands, but don't speak to us. You know, we do see
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right.
That does happen.
Right. How about you, Chrissy? Like, do you have to be a buffer sometimes, like, or a wall, if you will?
I don't think probably not as much as Angela has to, but I think kind of with the same, Brandon he definitely has a servant's heart,
Yes.
and will go over and beyond for people. He just wants to help people. And his heart is always in the right place, and kind of like Angela, I just never want him to be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So sometimes I do feel like I'm on a defense, or kind of like, don't be dumb. Like, come on, man. Like, but it's his heart. He has such a servant's heart. At the end of the day, I have to realize, you know what? He's gonna be blessed.
Yes.
So go ahead. He'll be blessed. You know, there is no lack here. So so a buffer, sometimes maybe, but it's because I just don't want him to be taken advantage of.
Right. And that's why we just want to discern certain things. If most times I don't say anything, but when something doesn't feel right, like, babe, come on, this is not right. So just using discernment with those who are around my husband and around us, really.
It's little stuff, man. And I learned this from Bishop Samuel Green in Newport News. I learned this from Bishop Green. He said, man, I never have a meeting with anybody with the door closed, right? Just so nobody can make nothing up. It's just like little stuff like that speaks to your integrity that you don't want to. I don't want to inhibit, and I make sure I don't ever try to set myself in any position. I'm going home. All right, babe, can you come get me? Right, just to make sure I call Brandon back. Hey, let's talk. Let's talk for a while. Talk me on back home. Right. And you need that just to make sure that your good's not spoken of in the wrong way, even though you had a good heart. You meant it for good.
Yes.
Right. And somebody takes it and turns it. So yeah, that's a good question, man. That was a good one, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's. I mean, it came off funny, but you know,
no, it's a legit question.
But
great question.
Yeah. Now now to the men. Both of you are, as I said, very magnetic and charismatic in that whole thing, and you are leaders in your own right. And people tend to gravitate towards you for stuff, whatever that looks like. Now, but here you have two strong women, educated, smart, intelligent, that whole thing. They have dreams too. They have goals too. They have visions too. Is it a challenge to try to walk in your vision and still be able to accommodate theirs? Like, what's the dynamic like? Is that a challenge? How big of a challenge is that?
I would say it's a challenge. It's a transition. I believe it's a transition in a lot of churches. All right, the traditional churches, whether they be Baptist, Pentecostal, right, non-denominational. I think that's the transition. All right, and we have this conversation. Every blue moon. All right, to make sure I don't feel like she's not walking in what God's called her to do. All right, she give me deference to do what I got to do as the leader. And we had this conversation. We've had intense fellowship over the years, trying to figure out what they call the first lady's role. All right, and it's different depending on where you are. You saw different things. All right, and depending on who you around, you hear different things. And our always thing is trying to work out what's authentic to what Hope City's supposed to be doing and what she's supposed to be doing. I just don't want to do. I'm not gonna try and mimic nobody else. I don't want her to mimic nobody else just because he saw it and it worked in Sacramento. You know what works for us and speaks to her. what speaks to her anointings, right, in this season. Because again, and that's a tough question because people ask us, and we're like, we're trying to work this thing out as we speak right now. Which goes back to the previous question about how people treat, come at me about certain things or come at her about certain things. So it's kind of all tied in a jambalaya as we kind of work through it. So yeah, I believe that's am I wrong? Lady Brown?
I think the main focus in the seasons that we are in the early stages anyway, has been on the vision that God gave for my husband, and just kind of getting the ground rolling and fully where it's going and where it's growing. So it's not necessarily, my focus wasn't even on what it is that I wanted to do. My focus is on me supporting him. So I was okay with that. I am still okay with that, even though I do know that God has purposed me to do what I'm supposed. And there's still purpose in me, and there's still purpose in me with this ministry as well, but still with my individual purpose as well. So, but the focus has been on my husband, and I've been fine with that. And it's not about what I want to do, but what I want to do is with him. We are one. This is his vision, and I'm part of that as well. So when you marry someone, your purpose and your destinies, they are intertwined. So when he is living in the purpose that God has for him, that's the same for me. And I find my purpose in that too, even with my own life.
Okay. So that's very interesting, and it's very true. But if I'm being honest, I struggle with that exact concept that Angela just illustrated, and I'll tell you what I mean, because what she's saying is exactly right about you being one. For this cause shall a man leave his father and his mother, cleave to his, and the two become one.
Right.
But sometimes without deep, tough communication, where Chrissy's vision may be taking her, may not be where I'm at.
Yeah.
Just reconciling, but we're one. So I'll tell you something I just learned very recently. Just trying to navigate this whole concept of, we're one, but at the same time, this is an individual that has her own spirit, her own mind, her own, so her own. And as a matter of fact, this was tough for me. Her own boundaries, that I have to respect.
Yes.
So, to answer your question, Mike, I think it requires just full on, conversation, communication, and then, oh, by the way, when you throw 3 children and 4 children into the mix, respectively, that throws things up. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, if you want to go climb Mount Everest, yeah, that's fine, but these babies got to eat right now. So you figure that out later.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's an interesting segue. How hard is it to maintain consistently the relationship? The relationship, and when I say the relationship, I mean just you and her.
Great question.
Versus mom and dad.
Great.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I know, speaking personally, I think that there are moments where my wife and I it's kind of a challenge for us, where I think sometimes we forget that we're husband and wife because we spend so much time being mom and dad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then a lot of people that I talk to, when I ask them about marriage, the first thing that they say is they're something about their kids. Like, I do this for my kids. I do that for my kids. I love my kids. You know, my wife loves my kids. She does this and that and the third, but they rarely ever talk about the relationship. So, like, is it a challenge for you guys to just be booze, absent of, you know, being mom and dad? Like, do you make time for it? How important is it to make time to be just, because it started with you?
Right.
You know, so what do you say?
You know, Mike, I actually think about that a lot, and that is an excellent question, because, you know, I'm just going to be transparent. I believe myself to be a great father. I take pride in it. I put effort in it, but I'll make no bones about it. I am the understudy when it comes to parents. Like, Chrissy has an anointing and a gifting. She really does. As it comes to, I mean, I'm just in awe. Her sense of fairness. You know, something happens with the kids. My idea of fair is what's going to make you be quiet first. But, so to your question, in that, you know, I do think that we get lost in those roles, and you know, your mom and your dad, and you play those roles, and I think it's important to kind of just break out. So we've been. This may sound crazy, but our thing is, let's go to Costco. We're gonna leave all the kids, and we just gonna go to Costco.
And for us, because, you know, ours are a little bit older. Like, we have Brandon, who is gone, Braylon, who's like tonight, she's gone. So we really just have Bailey, and she's kind of becoming independent. So it is just kind of us now, just kind of. So we have to really, really focus on us, because our kids, they're growing up now, you know. And I think with marriage, it has its ebbs and flows. And I think right now is our time to really, really focus on us, because the kids don't need us as much as they once did. So, and
that takes concerted effort, because
it does.
And once again, going to, you know, you've been with somebody for so long, 2 decades, but then now you got to relearn each other. You know, hi, I'm Chris. Hi, I'm
decades
Brandon.
older, and things have changed. You have evolved to a totally different person. You have different interests or dislikes, you know. So you do have to you have to relearn each other, for sure.
And for us, a couple of different things. First thing, with this, because we got 4 and we commute, we thank goodness that we have a good circle, a good core right here. My parents, good and the bad. My parents right up the street, and my mother-in-law lives with us. All right, which is great, and at the same time, right? So whenever we need to go, drop them off and just roll out. Right, we know that. We know that. And I want to thank the Simmons too, because the Simmons also opened up a whole other avenue in cruising. All right, the first cruise we ever went on was with their family and Ms. Tels, and I've been hooked ever since. And I'm saying that because we make it a point now to get out and just get away and unplug. And I always say this whenever I'm having intense fellowship. We're on the cruise. We were best friends. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't got the kids and other stuff. I always say, let's go back on the cruise so we can recalibrate this thing. Right. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's just us in the waves. But to your point, like, we're trying as best we can to keep those moments pure with just us, because you get bombarded. Like I said earlier, if you don't keep balance, you get bombarded in being a parent, because that's your first job. You had them, you got to take care of them.
That's right.
And we got to make sure we do that. But at the same time, try to keep it as fresh as you can. Ours are getting older. We're trying to prep them for we got a big old spectrum. I don't know how it happened, but we got big old spectrum. My boys 2-3 years away from getting out, just like little Brandon. They're about to be gone. I'm trying to get them ready, and so we got to spend enough time, but at the same time, let them have their independence so that we can stay fresh and most likely stay on the same page. That's one of the pieces, because even as we've had some moments we come to church and probably on the same page. We've had some. You know what I'm saying? We in the parking lot, not saying Amazing Grace, We walk in, God bless you, we love you, and you know, we've had those moments.
It's harder for me to do that.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
We make up after church,
Yeah.
but we've had those moments. But again, it's that balance piece that we never forget. And if the church was to go away and somebody else takes it tomorrow, we still together. All right.
And he does say that.
I say that all
yeah.
the time. I said, without this church, we still gonna be Angela and Justin Brown. So I try to make sure we keep. And I'm serious. I mean, the older I get, the more serious I get about it. Like no, we're gonna be here. And I'll tell you a little horror story we had that kind of motivates me on this. We came home from the Winchester one time, and an old black couple, they'd been together for years. All I knew was them being together for years. And we came home, and the wife was she was sitting on the porch, and she had this older looking dude sitting beside her. I was like, oh, that's not her husband, so I wasn't thinking nothing about it. When we came up to speak, hey, we ain't seen you in a while. She's like, yeah, hello, I want you to meet before we say that, hello, I want you to meet my fiance.
Yes.
And we were like, what? This ain't the guy we've seen all our lives.
Right.
I can't say the name, but we've seen this guy all our lives, and all of a sudden you just gonna introduce some new old dude, your fiance.
She did.
And she was like, yeah, when the kids left, I was like, oh. And she said that. I've been thinking about that thing. She said it. She said, because when the kids left, they ain't had nothing else. They kept them together. Right. I know kids will keep it together. Amen. But you gotta have, as Simmons said, you gotta have more than that. As you relearn and go on Costco dates.
Right.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned earlier, you know, before there were children, there was the two of us, and remembering the times, the moments that we had when it was just us, when we were intentional about dating each other.
Let me tell you what she says, y'all. Let me tell you what she says. She says, I need you to do like you used to do me in Noble State. No. You really love me then. You used to really love me then.
Really love me.
I was like, baby, it's the same love. It's a little different. It's still the same.
But we don't want that. I don't think that when you, as you get more and more comfortable with your spouse and you have children, I don't think you should ever lose what kept you together, what first got you together. You know, we always want to revisit. I always want to revisit that moment, those moments. I don't ever want my butterflies to go away. I don't ever want to forget what it feels like. I don't want that. So I want him to still do those things. I go
sit outside.
I still want him to do those things that we did before we had children. We were dating, you know. And my mom was a big example for me. When we were growing up, her life, we were everything. And then when we left, she had a hard time. So she made her life so much about us, which was amazing. You know, we were benefactors of it, but she didn't do all those things with my father, or even for herself. So I'm like, man, I don't want to get to the point when my children are grown that I have to rediscover myself, or I have to rediscover my marriage. So what do we do on, you know, ongoing, you know, from the moments, from the 5 years to 10 years to 20 years plus? I don't ever want to lose me in that, or I don't ever want to lose us in those moments. So he talked about the cruising. It's easy when you're on vacation to kind of just be with each other, when you're outside of your norm, when you're outside of your children. But how do we have those moments, or be intentional about creating those moments or those dates, even when it's everybody, even when it's our 4 kids, you know, be intentional with us. And we're not always, I don't even have a solution to that, because I think we still have some work with that. To be honest, we still have work.
You can get into the routine. You can get into like the routine of every day, going to work, going to, you know, running with the kids. You do get into like a routine to where sometimes you do forget, like, oh, you know, there's a marriage here. Let's not forget about that. So you do have to, I think, like Angela said, at what an earlier question, it's a choice. You have to be intentional and make a choice to carve out time for you and your spouse. Even if it's just a car ride, that's still time.
It's time.
It's time. So it doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but just time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Who do you think who do you think that's a bigger challenge for? I asked that because I know over here in Hampton, my wife is like, she's the consummate mom all the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think, you know, what I was saying earlier about attaching parenthood to marriage. So like when you ask someone about marriage, they automatically attach the parenthood part. When I'm asking you about you and your significant other, I'm not necessarily talking about the kids or whatever. But
Yeah.
who is it harder for in that scenario? Like who is it harder for it to kind of disconnect from the kids to say, okay, babe, let's go do this?
I believe ours is probably equal. I will say this. I'll throw some Bible on this, as I like to say. When they pick on Job's wife. They pick on Job's wife when she says, go ahead and curse God and die. I always lift that because I think there's a maternal instinct in moms. I think there's a maternal instinct in just mothers in general about their babies, right? If you want to get them going and fired up, right, let them find out you're plotting on their babies or you've done something. You'll see a whole nother side of a mother come out. They go in that grizzly mode when they think their babies are something's going on. And I'm not saying that's the reason. I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just saying I just think mothers have that natural thing in them. And I think, of course, fathers do. We just want to make sure you got the resources to get what you got to get done. I think mothers are like, nah, we got to make sure we get it done, plotting, planning. In my humble opinion, I like to submit that it probably could be. It could be not blaming women for this issue we're talking about. I just think that's kind of the makeup. You got to figure out how it works for. As Dr. Robinson, you say your wife is the one, she don't play around with the babies. She get that work done. So I think you got to everybody got to work it out for their own household, how that balances out.
Because my wife will tell you in a second, like she'll make a 3 or 4 course meal to make sure the kids are eating. And I've heard this, like I've been coming down the stairs and my daughter will say something like, is Dad gonna eat? And she'll be like, he's a grown man. You know? And so, you know, once I'll finish wiping the tears and everything, you know, I have to take care of business, you know, but yeah, you know, that's why I asked, like, is it who is it who is it harder for? Because like you said, the moms are always mama bears all the time. You know what I'm saying? So is it tough? We're moving forward. When you look at marriage now, and you think about how you were before you got married, trying to formulate this question in the right way for it to make sense.
Please do. If you had to name one thing, what was the biggest misconception that you had about marriage?
That's a good question.
Great question.
Yes.
Great question. Mine was probably this: how much of my own stuff I had to deal with that I bring to the marriage together. As much as I can fuss about anybody else, I look back like I had some stuff that I brought with me that I thought wouldn't be an issue, right? Or wouldn't pop up. You know, we could brush it under the rug, whatever those issues were, right? That it kind of sometimes you see it like, oh wow, I didn't know that was a thing I had a problem with, or whatever I was bringing I need to fix, until you get into it. You're like, everybody don't like that you do that. And I'm not talking about my wife. I'm just talking about people in general, right? So there was some stuff I had to still deal with that become more focused when you become married.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Not saying I was broken or bad. It's just some stuff I had to fix up.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? There was some stuff I had to fix on my end.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm trying to telling her what she got to do, stuff she needs to work on. I said, oh, there's some stuff I know I needed to work on. And watch this, not just for the marriage, for the sake of our babies, you said the kids, for the sake of my kids, because I didn't want some of that stuff to get passed on to them. So that was one for me, and that was kind of eye-opening, humbling, kind of humbling.
I think for me, a big misconception that I had going into our marriage was expecting the same type of communication. You know, I communicate this way and I express myself this way. I'm going to share it and tell him, and he's going to understand it right away, and we can be great, you know. So that wasn't the case. You know, having to find a place to just be okay to grow and know his love language, and for him to learn my love language. And I feel like that is still ongoing too. So even all these years later, we're still growing and getting to know each other still.
We be transparent. Her weakness is my weakness. She's an emotional, touchy person. I came from a family that wasn't emotional, touchy people.
Yeah.
And as the Lord would have it, he was making me become more touchy and emotional. Probably, I believe, for my baby girls. Now, I love my boys, but for my girls,
The boys need it too.
the boys do need it. You know what I'm saying? For my girls, I really believe, right? And transparency. Sometimes she would when she would need it. I said, I don't want. We've had intense fellowship. I don't want to hug and kiss right now. I want to be in my feelings, right? And we've had to work through that.
And we don't communicate the same.
We don't communicate. I love her family. Let me talk about her family. And this is always a good thing about her family. They can have an intense fellowship for like 15 minutes and they'll be best friends minute 16.
Absolutely.
They get it up and I'm like, oh, what's getting ready to happen? And they're cooking together minute 16.
And then his family,
we don't say nothing.
They don't communicate.
We don't. I'm getting better. But we just not a communicating. We you know, God bless. Pray for us. So that was.
They're not emotional.
We're not that emotional. All right. So we had to work on bridging that gap.
Find the balance with that.
Find that balance with that. And we're still working on it. The truth will set you free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think mine is, Mike. You might remember I told you, when I met her, I thought she was going to cook breakfast, lunch, dinner every day, and I don't get none of it. No, I'm joking. I would really say that early on. I don't know if the Browns did this, but early on, I think even in thinking about it in retrospect, on a subconscious level, I based the trajectory of how our marriage should go on other people's experience. Right. So, like I said, I alluded to this earlier. I'm looking at, my parents who were, and still are, a wonderful paradigm, 52 years, but Chrissy's not my mother. I'm not my father.
Right.
So, we can glean certain things that will help us, but, we have to kind of navigate our own path. And I had to tear those subconscious expectations. And I'll say this also, we're on a podcast, we're being real. Chrissy's parents were married for many years. Wonderful relationship, I think 32 years, right? Mm-hmm. And
close to something like that.
The marriage ended. And, they're both doing very well now, happy. But the marriage ended, and that was also like, oh, okay, so you can't put this thing on autopilot after 10 years or 15 years. It's constantly working and nurturing. And coming back to your questions, I think tearing down expectations and just building the relationship daily. That sounds corny, but that's really what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I saw something the other day that said, grieve. It says, stop expecting, be okay with expectations of other people not being what you want them to be, and then grieve that, and then be able to move on of it, be able to move on. So stop, grieve what you expected, like my expectations of him, maybe he didn't meet it. It's okay. I got to be in a place to forgive the expectation that I have that wasn't able to be met, and be okay with that, because my expectations were just that. They were my expectations, not what they were able to give.
That's deep. Who was that? Meek Mill?
Levels to this.
And I think for me, mine was just communication. I had a way I communicated, and I just expected him to understand that. But he didn't. So I think for me, and I mean, I think that's still a work in progress, is me being able to verbally communicate better.
Let me see. I'm gonna try to answer my own question. I think that the biggest misconception that I had about marriage was that there will always be time for us.
Wow.
You know, I think that there would always be time for us, and that we would take care of each other. I feel like at a certain point, well, I'll speak personally. You know, there are certain points where I think that we forget to take care of each other. And what I mean by that is simple things. Like, this is a rhetorical question. When's the last time you went to the grocery store and you saw that box of Captain Crunch on the counter, and you said, I'm gonna buy that because I know that Justin likes Captain Crunch, or Brandon likes Captain Crunch, and these kids not gonna touch it. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm gonna buy this because I know that he likes Captain Crunch. Or on the flip side, you might be in, I don't know why you would be in there, but like Bed Bath and Beyond. And you see this particular these particular bath beads that Miss Angela likes or Miss Christie likes, and you buy them and you say, look, I'm gonna buy this because she loves this. And nobody's gonna touch it, nobody's gonna mess. This is her stuff. And that's the type of thing that I'm saying, like when you make you have a specific purpose to accommodate your spouse at given moments, even in simple moments like that. I feel like, you know, that is taking care of one another. Or
Hello.
You have a disagreement. Let's say, Brandon, you have a disagreement with Braylon. And to the point where you might even raise your voice to her in a certain type of way. It bothers Christy. And she comes to you and says, hey, Brandon, you were wrong. You raised your voice at her in such a way that it may have damaged her or whatever. But then you go to Braylon, the taking care of Brandon. You go to Braylon and say, Braylon, you know that your father loves you. This was this incident, you know, whatever, blah, blah, just know that he loves you and will do anything for you. To me, that's taking care of one another. Because now you're not only have you spoken to your spouse, but you're valuing the relationship between the father and the daughter as well. You're being mindful of that. So like, those are the type of examples I mean when I say that sometimes we forget to take care of one another because we're doing, you know, we do things for a specific reason. And if this person benefits from it, happens to benefit from it, then that's just icing on the cake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'll say this, Mike, real quick. That's an excellent point. And I think also, to your point, a lot of times, and I'll speak for myself, you can get caught in the grand gesture and leave the little data, not little, but the day-to-day things that you're talking about by the wayside. You know, I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, I was just thinking, and I was like, man, I want to do something for Christy, and I'm just for like days, just I want to, what am I going to do? I'm shopping, concert, whatever. And finally, I just, called her one day. I said, hey, listen, let's go up the road, get something to eat, and then we'll go somewhere and let's just people watch. You would have thought I offered this woman a ticket to Usher and Beyonce. Just so excited. Yeah, what? And the point I'm making is a lot of times, and this kind of piggybacks on your point, in planning grand gestures or thinking of the big thing, we leave the day-to-day manifestations of care and love by the wayside.
Right.
It's just the thought, hey, he just wants to spend some time with me, and I love that.
And Mike, you brought up a point about just showing your spouse that you care about them and you think about them throughout the day is doing small things like going to the store and getting them their favorite whatever.
Right.
Without them asking. Something they, I know Brandon's one of his favorite gum to chew is Big League Chew. It was something he would chew with his Aunt Ruth. He shared that with me years ago. So every blue moon, if I'm at the store and I happen to see it, it's like an old school gum. You can't find it at every grocery store, but when I do see it, I'll go buy it for him because it was something that stuck with me that he loved as a kid chewing, that his Aunt Ruth used to buy. So it's just remembering those little things that your spouse tells you and then buying it for them. That goes a long way because it just lets them know, hey, I thought about you, you're on my mind, and I love you. It's just it's definitely
Okay.
We're here.
No, they switched cameras.
Those are very, very important things to always do throughout the course of the marriage. Absolutely. And they're coming, just even put yourself in those shoes. Think about receiving, everybody loves receiving something, especially when it's unexpected and it's something that's special that you just kind of said in talking, or you didn't think you didn't make a big deal about. It lets your spouse know that you heard me.
Yeah.
You heard me, so those are little special things.
Dog, Almond Joys gets me out of jail.
Yeah.
Dog, I ain't gonna lie, it never fails. And every blue moon, I grab an Almond Joy. Baby, got an Almond Joy downstairs. And at first I was like, this is corny. Like, really? She really likes this? And then the more I stayed with it, the more I kept giving, she was like, she literally likes when I get her Almond Joys or little surprises. So I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's when I know he's really trying to say, I'm sorry.
Right.
He says, I'm sorry, you're a piece of candy. And I go with
there's
it.
been other times I've gotten Almond Joys. I'm just saying.
Right. You don't want to get that associated with bad.
Exactly. But I'm saying she gets so happy and tickled by it. It was just funny to me. Like, she likes this.
Because like Christy said, he listened. And sometimes it hasn't always been that way when he got something that there's been times when maybe he got something that I didn't like, or he forgot that, oh, I do like the Almond Joys and not these Reese cups that he keeps getting. So that matters when he thinks about me too, when he thinks about me.
Yeah.
And these conversations are important,
Very much.
Talking with other married couples and kind of having somebody to feedback. Because even look at us groups on here. I think Mike, you're at 18 years too, right?
We are 17.
Okay.
You right on the verge. You right there with us.
18,
You right there.
18 together, 17 married.
You right there with us.
So what I'm saying is we all in that same, but we all have different perspectives, right?
Right.
And it's good to learn from each other.
I think that, like, with me, it was very hard because honestly, Brandon's mom and dad probably was the most functional relationship I'd ever seen in my life.
Wow.
My mom was divorced twice. My grandparents before they came to Rochester, my grandfather only came to Rochester because my grandmother left him. I mean, no, I'm sorry. My grandmother only came to Rochester because my grandfather had moved to Rochester to live with his sister because they had separated for like over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when they after 10 years, they decided to get back together, and she came to Rochester, and eventually, we were born and whatnot. But like I said, his parents were probably the most functional relationship I had ever seen in my life. And I tell them all the time, and I think maybe they think that I'm exaggerating, but his family,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know where I would be, or what I might have been into.
Right.
They mean more to me than just friendship. You know what I mean? They have literally been the blueprint. It's for certain aspects of my life.
Right.
That's beautiful.
So to see him and his wife and his kids, and they flourishing and they love each other and they laugh together and they love together. It just, I don't know. And so I say all that. I know I'm kind of like off subject.
All right. No.
But I don't think that I would be here if it were not for the love and the grace and the acceptance that they showed me. They never judged me. They never looked at me because I didn't have as much.
Right.
He was just my friend.
Right.
And
it's to your point, sir, because I want to drop this. I think this is an authentic moment, and I think Brandon said this earlier, right? About, I think all of us need a solid couple to glean from.
Right.
You need somebody. Nobody's perfect, but if you got solid folk who just genuinely good, and I tell my church all the time about gaining wisdom, right? Wisdom, right? And you can get wisdom from these couples who've been through and have handled it gracefully. All right. And I think there's nothing wrong with that at all. I look at it as being a musician. There's a lot of musicians I looked up to, right, that I learned from and gleaned from, that were just good people. All right. And that's, I believe that's a God moment, that God puts people in your life, in your path, for you to know that there's a whole nother side to this. Now, here's the other piece, sir. And I don't know why we're going this direction tonight, but since we're here, please don't believe that all the couples that are in front of you that seem like they're everything going on great, means they're perfect.
Right.
They're all going. Man, a guy told me this one time, and I bust out laughing. He's like, man, he said, man, I wish my marriage could be like y'all. Boy, I spit water out my mouth. I was like, I really did. I was like, dog, you see what we do on Sundays at the park. But you don't know what it takes to get there.
Point, yeah.
And I was just telling him, man, marriage is work. Right? It could be fun work, but it's still work. And no matter what your backstory is, my wife's got a backstory with even her family. Christy, 32 years, all right, and nobody's life is perfect, but we strive to do the best that we can with the ones that we love. And I love this moment tonight, man. I didn't know how much I was going to need to hear this and sit through this on tonight. So I thank you, my brother.
No problem.
I don't know what your intention was. I know it was a God intention, but I'm telling you, it's blowing my mind just sitting here tonight, sharing, getting stuff out in a safe place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then remember your love story.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I believe that, it's important. Like I kind of made a pact with myself that from here on out, I was going to be intentional about making it known when people have impacted my life in any type of way.
Mm-hmm.
On any level, because it's kind of an unfortunate truth that many of us transition before we ever hear
Right.
how we have influenced or impacted people's life. And so I for one don't ever want to be that person. And so going back to what I was saying about Brandon and his family, I can't even put into words the influence, the impact. I can go to his parents' house right now and get anything that I want out of the refrigerator. Whatever, just like I'm one of the kids or whatever, and that just means like anyway.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, and I think the point to kind of hang on, if they're younger married couples watching this, and Pastor Justin kind of alluded to this, is it's okay. As a matter of fact, it's a good thing. It's a wise thing. We talked about wisdom, to use people who you perceive to have a successful path as your blueprint. But you have to know that eventually you're going to have to put that blueprint down,
Right,
and create your own design,
right,
because you're not them. You don't think it's them. So I think relationships fall into trouble sometime, and you hear them saying, well, they didn't do this like my. Well, they're not them.
right.
So there are many married couples, younger, older. I Pastor Brown may not know this, but I watch his parents, and how they attack ministry and go to games together, and that's just a wonderful thing. And me and Chrissy take a piece of that, we take a piece of that, and then we throw this in the gumbo and hope and it will work for us, of course.
Right.
So I got two questions left for you guys. I mean, we have actually gone over the usual time, but it is what it is. But first of the last question is, at this point in your marriages, what's the hardest thing for you not to do?
How's not to do?
Go ahead, Simmons.
Yeah, that's a deep one. I got to pray. Let me pray real quick. Let me talk to the Lord. What is the hardest thing not to do?
I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be transparent. I'm gonna speak, and this. You spoke about giving flowers. I'm gonna give flowers to my wife because in terms of just going through things that we're doing or trying to go, going to the next step, a lot of times I allow doubt to set in, right, and occupy my mind. But to my wife's credit, she is, listen, none of that. She's if you are in a bad mood and you want to stay there, don't call my wife because she's not going to allow you to, she's not going to entertain it. So, not to do is sometimes following the faith path. I'll say that fully. I think I answered that.
What about you, Miss Chrissy?
And ask your question again.
Right.
At this point in your marriage, what's the hardest thing not to do?
Okay. And it's funny because it's interesting that Brandon mentioned that because that's kind of the same vein I was going down. And at this point in our marriage, what I'm not going to do is give up.
Right.
Is that answering the question?
Yeah.
It's not.
He said not to do. So
Not
I guess
to do.
What's the hardest thing not to do at this point in your marriage?
Is
not give up.
not to not give up. I guess that's what I'm like struggling like.
Wordplay. I'm thinking hard too. I'm
And it kind of goes like, okay, hopefully I'm answering this correctly, but kind of like what Brandon, because at the end of the day, life is going to life. Life will happen. That's just the enemy's job, is to throw life at us. And I just feel like we're in this. And again, it goes back to that choice, making that choice to just stick it out, stay together, fight this fight together, and go through this beautiful struggle. And I'm just not going to allow life to shake my faith. So that's what
Or what you see.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, God has never failed and he's not going to. So I'm not going to allow what circumstance or what happens to shake my faith. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's kind of where I am.
Okay.
That's what I'm not gonna forget it.
Not do. It's not done. Yeah. Amen. Yeah.
Hopefully I answered that.
Oh wait, Mike, can you ask that?
hard.
At this point in your marriage,
Mhm.
what's the hardest thing for you not to do?
Mm. It's
You go first.
then you can go.
Why no man?
Oh, since you go
I
ahead.
think I'm saying this right. Not to do.
Yes.
Stop dreaming. I can't stop dreaming, right? So I said not to do. The hardest thing for me not to do is to stop dreaming.
Not dream.
To not dream. Because I have a vision of our future. That's what I'm trying to get to. I got a vision of where God is going to take not only me but take in our future, and for me, it's what gives me my drive, right? To even we're not on the same page, we're gonna get through it. My kids ain't listening, we're gonna get through it because I know I'm on my way somewhere. I know God's not through with us yet. As we continue to have vision and dream dreams. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited to I have a fresh newness about me. I share with my wife. I share with Simmons every blue moon. Like, man, I think God wants us to do something unique. So I'm glad at this point in our life that we're not done dreaming and having visions. That we're nowhere close to being done. My grandma said, as long as the creek don't rise,
Right.
For what's coming.
Absolutely.
Fresh storm, boo. You clean up here.
At this point in your marriage, no, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
Oh, finish.
Mike, let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
At this point, what is the hardest question not to answer without answering?
So we moments and I'm going to be transparent and share that this was a difficult week for us, and it was a difficult
And it
week
would have
for
been this
us.
week too.
And
I
it
was
would have
like,
been
really?
this week that we would even have some little challenges in our own relationship, but here we are talking about still making that choice and still choosing to just to be and be together.
Absolutely.
And the hardest thing to not do in my marriage right now is to say that I give up, or to say that our marriage is not worth fighting for, and I still choose us. And it is a choice. It's something that you have to choose every day. And that's with anything in life. Life is full of choices, and that God gives you. God gives us choice. He gives us free will. And what you decide to do with it, that's on you. That's between you. And in this case, it's between the two of us. And not just the two of us, but the two of us and God. So I'm choosing.
You're choosing me, huh? Go ahead, Doc. Hard not to choose me.
Okay, I'll let y'all work that out offline.
That's right.
Yeah. I lied to you. I got one more question in between the last question. What is, if you can name one thing, what is the if you can name one thing, what is the thing that you admire about each other? About the couples, as couples, I'm saying. What do you admire most about the Simmons? What does the Simmons admire most about the Browns? If they can name one thing.
I'll start. One thing I'm thoroughly impressed, and I have been since we first met them, is they love each other out loud. Like they're very transparent. We've been transparent. Sometimes you may not be on the same vibration, but one thing I'll tell you: never ever doubt the love and energy between those two. I mean, Justin Brown loves Angela, and I think Angela will kill somebody behind Justin. But I mean, it's just I truly admire that. It's just so wonderful, their interactions, the energy they have, and they spread it. They spread it. It's contagious. So I absolutely admire it.
And Angela, I think I've shared this with her before. She's naturally a nurturer. She loves to nurture and take care of people, and they take care of each other, like Brandon said, out loud. She loves on him, and kind of like Justin said, like I kind of am from like that same family where we didn't show a lot of affection. So I love to see her show him affection, because it kind of helps me be able to out loud show my husband affection, because that's something I had to learn to do throughout my marriage, is show affection. So that's something I do love about them, is the way they nurture each other.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things we say about the Simmons. It's hard to boil down to. One of the great things I think the Simmons do, Doc, and I know behind closed doors they fussing hard. Doc, I have never, ever seen them really seriously intense to disagree in front of us. I don't know what to do between midnight and 4 a.m. But even if they disagree, it's a smile by the end of it. Yeah. Because they actually have that, I don't know what that thing where they can just mesh it and keep going, at least while we're around. And we spend a lot of time with them. We spend a lot of time with them. Well, we got some stories to tell. And they even I know their difference of opinions, they're able to mesh that thing. Everybody feels good in the room, and it keeps going. I think that's a gift they have, and not just they do it with us. I've seen them do it with other people as well. And that is so. When we have our intense moments that sometimes spill out to the streets, they are a model for us.
And they talk about how we love each other.
Yeah, they do.
And how y'all love each other. You know, you're intentional with your time. Even talking about going to Costco, you know, taking those trips and the little things. And I think that their home, you go in their home,
They
it's
make it look so
warm.
easy.
And we spend a lot of time together, and we do. I admire their love for each other, and even with Brandon, you know, he has a way of helping to see another perspective, and sometimes you may not see something. And Christy will go with them, like, you know what, you're right. And so even how they have that admiration and that respect for each other, I admire their respect for each other in their marriage.
They make that thing work. Brandon's the ultimate sandwich technique. I learned that from him. And now I use it everywhere I go, like I invented it. I'm like, no, I got this from Brandon. He gonna make you feel great about yourself, and then he gonna dig into you and tell you what the real problem is, and then gonna make you feel good as you walk out the door. And then Chris gonna tell you exactly what's on her mind, and ain't gonna really gonna care. And just
stop.
I mean, that's a good thing, though. I'm saying, and I love it for what they've been to us in our life,
and how they accept us,
and they accepted us as we were and as we are.
That's amazing. I'll tell you that. Chrissy and Brandon are the male and female version of each other.
Okay, that's deep.
Because it's almost irritating. Because they are so super cool, and they have built such a super cool rapport with one another that it makes you look right. It makes you look like, hey, why can't we? You know what I mean? But they are probably the coolest couple that I know.
I appreciate that, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're definitely the coolest people I know. Very even keeled.
Right.
Very
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I cannot see. I couldn't see you guys like truly like stress out about anything.
So we're on this podcast to be transparent. So we're going to be transparent. Yeah. So, but I will say this in all honesty. I mean, just being honest. I mean, it's a blessing. We don't argue much, but when we argue, but to your point, I really received that because I really feel that way. Like I really like hanging with Chrissy. Like she's a cool chick. If she wasn't my wife, I'm just being serious. I she's funny. You know what I mean? She makes me laugh. So I think that's important. Sometimes. So I think that's important. So I think that's important.
Yeah, it's definitely. They definitely have their own language.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Matter like him and I. You know what I'm saying? Like we developed our own language to the point where people, if we were on the phone, people would not know if it was him or if it was me. Oh. And so now I can see that, you know, in this, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, they're just so super cool that I mean, what can I say? And then it spills over to the kids too. The kids are super cool too. You know,
appreciate that.
You know, so.
But no, really, it's important. You know, you love your spouse, but it's so important to like your spouse.
Right.
You have to really like and enjoy being around them because I mean that makes for a miserable marriage if you love them but you really don't like them.
Right.
So, you know, just today Brandon had said something to me and I belly laughed and he was like, "Man, that's good. I can still make you laugh." And I'm like, "You really can."
I mean, I do it all the time.
Whatever. But that's really important to be able to laugh and not. And you were like, it wasn't even a sympathy laugh. You know, like, no, like you really made me belly laugh. And it's so important to still have that and be able to make your spouse laugh and make your spouse truly smile. If you lose that, you really have to kind of go back to the drawing board and really go back and just reconnect again.
Yeah.
Because if you lose the smiling and the laughing, it's
hard.
yeah, it is. And I didn't want to say that, but it is. It's over, and you can't.
That just remind, and I know we got to wrap up, but let me just say this. I would be remiss if I didn't say this because you just kind of reminded me of something I was going to say earlier. Let me say this about the Browns because I think this really speaks to couples who are in ministry and Mike, you talked about that earlier, who carry that weight. Another thing that I really admire the immense responsibility and, quite frankly, the anointing that is on their life and the responsibility they have for people. They carry that. I think they serve God well with it, while simultaneously you have such ease around them. You know, a lot of times you're around people who have that responsibility and that anointing, and understandably, it's kind of like, you know, you got to tighten up, you know, because they're very serious, they're very concerned, they're very deliberate. They have all of that and simultaneously they're welcoming, they laugh, so that's a wonderful thing. Wonderful thing.
Wow.
Thank
you.
you.
That's awesome, guys. Okay. This is my official last question. It's a question that I ask all my guests. So I once I ask it, I just want you guys to take a moment, think about it, and give me the most honest and transparent answer that you could possibly give. And the question is, what would have to happen in your life if it has not happened already for you to consider your life a success? What does success look like for you specifically?
So if you had asked me this question, I mean, like really recently, it probably would have had some type of material or financial factor to it. But Mike, I'm at the point now where my success is really measured twofold. I want peace for Christy and I, and I want my children living in their purpose. However that looks, or in however that's defined, I think I have a successful life after that.
Like that.
What about you, Miss Christy? You have an answer, or
I'm
you
gonna pass and come back to me.
Okay. Browns.
I mean, you have one?
I do.
Go ahead.
So my thought instantly went to my children, seeing them successful, and not even just but just with being good people. Like, I know that we've done our job when they are happy, and part of that happiness is even with us being happy, them seeing us whole, them seeing us in love, them seeing us just still thriving together. So my instant thought went to my babies, our babies.
I guess I got the twofold one too. I just want to be at the point where I enjoy whatever I do. I'm at the point where I want to enjoy what I do, whether it be pastoring, and I am, and whether it be teaching. Of course, my family always brings me joy, but I just want to enjoy what I do, and I believe I'm at that moment now, watching my babies grow, trying to prepare them for what life has coming for them down the road. All right, I enjoy being happy. If you ever talk to anybody about me, I enjoy happy. I enjoy being happy, and of course purposeful. But I want to enjoy, and then other piece in that is, as I enjoy, I also want to make sure I'm prepping my babies, my next generation,
Right,
for them for their lives in this crazy world that we live in. I just want to know. I have conviction that I prepare them as much as I can. Of course, we pray for them and ask God to protect them, but I prepare them as much as I can to go out here and tackle a different world in which we are living. Amen.
Yeah. I think for success for me, I think my career path has always led me to this answer. I'm always working with disadvantaged people. I think for success for me is always having having joy, having peace of mind, and always having a grateful heart. Always having a grateful heart, and just forever being in a place of thanksgiving.
Right. My success thing is simply to bridge the gap between what I'm supposed to be doing and doing it.
Right.
I like that.
Like yeah.
I like that a lot.
So you guys, I want to thank you immensely for taking this time out to sit down with me, watch me cry like a baby.
All right.
I appreciate your transparency and everything that you guys, expressed here. I know I learned some things, and I know the viewers learned some things as well. And man, just thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
This is a wonderful platform, wonderful topic.
Yes.
Very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I want to before I sign off, I want to extend, an invitation to an open invitation to you guys. Anytime you want to come on and talk, or if you have something coming up, if you want to promote it or whatever have you, this platform is open to you anytime. Just let me know.
Thank you.
We'll set it up. Again, I appreciate you and I thank you, and I wish you much blessings on everything that you got going forward, and even the things that you haven't quite thought of yet.
Thank
I wish you much
Appreciate
blessings on that.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, Mike.
757, baby.
Much love, brother. Much love.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right.
I love you guys.
Love you
too, man.
All right. You have a awesome night and a great rest of the weekend and everything after that.
All right. You too.
All right.
All right.
All right. Good night.
Good
All
night.
right. Good night.
All right. Peace.
There you have it, guys. Another amazing interview with two amazing anointed couples. And what can I say? It's some interviews just kind of do themselves. This is one of those ones that I'll mark on my calendar because it's always a treat when you have somebody that knows where you've come from and been where you've been, and to be able to express the admiration and the love for them in an honest way, and it be a safe place. That definitely means a lot to me. But overall, just the transparency and the honesty with which everybody went about this interview was very powerful. And for that, I am eternally grateful. So with that being said, I will belabor the time no longer. I just want to say, as always, if there's something, a vision, a dream, a plan that God has placed within your heart to do, if it keeps you up at night, if it disturbs your thoughts during the day, I implore you that this is the greatest time as any to go and do. Because as we all know, that with the vision, God provides provision. So don't worry about where, how, when, who. Just step out and do what God is leading you to do. And you will definitely be surprised how people will, once they see you moving forward, they'll sow into you, they'll invest into you, they'll give you whatever to do what you need to do. Sometimes I think that we don't have a lot of faith in human nature, but if God is in it, he takes that stony heart and turns it to flesh. And like I said, that provision comes. That piece of equipment that you think that you need suddenly appears on your doorstep, or that piece of equipment that costs a crazy amount of money that you just can't afford. Somebody gives it to you for $5, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I just had a friend tell me yesterday that her church gave her $5,000 in camera equipment because she served faithfully on the media ministry at her church. They just gave her $5,000 in media equipment. So I implore you to just go and do and allow God to do the rest. I firmly believe that He has, in His infinite wisdom, He has assigned us a remnant, a group of folks that are assigned to us and that are depending on us to make certain decisions in order for their ultimate destiny to be reached. So when you really think about that, there is a great mandate on each one of our lives, even to the point that the people that we affect, we may never even meet. We may never even get to know, but somebody might mention you to them, and that might inspire them to do something great. They might see a picture of you doing something that they want to do, and then it inspires them to do something great. You just never know. But the point is to do your part. So again, I implore you to step out, to go, to move, to let your light shine. Write the vision, make it plain. That whole thing. It works. I started out with a phone and one phone, this broken up phone right here, and a ring light. And over time, I added a backdrop, as you can see. I got like a little even theme song in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? You might think that is a simple thing, but I'm telling you, for me, that's light years ahead of where I was. And so I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going until whatever I'm supposed to be doing, whatever my destiny is reached. So with that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. You guys have a great night, and thank you for watching and commenting. Mary, I love you. Mom, my bonus mom, I love you very, very much. Dad, Tom, I love you too, sir. You guys have been a great influence on my life, and I will never, ever, ever forget what you've done. And anything that I have is yours. So that being said, y'all, good night.